What if you died today and woke up tomorrow with a second chance, but not here? What if you woke up in a world filled with magic, monsters, and medieval rules? Before we dive in, if you enjoy stories just like this one, please do follow the channel and share this explainer. It really does help this page grow and lets me create even more stories for you.
So let's start with a guy named Liang Shao. He wasn't some kind of hero or a king. He was just a grad student, totally buried in lab work, just trying to pay the bills after his parents had passed away. His life was, well, it was ordinary. He was a brilliant guy, for sure, but he was just exhausted, completely caught in this loop that felt like it would never end. A life that you could measure in deadlines and debt, with almost no room for anything else. And then one night, running home in the pouring rain, his body just gave out. His vision went black. It was a totally quiet, unremarkable end. Except it wasn't the end. It was a really brutal, completely disorienting new beginning. He woke up to pure chaos. Getting pulled from the rubble of a town that had just been destroyed by a cyclops, he found himself in the arms of soldiers. A tough-as-nails medic named Lena was carrying him through a scene of fire and death. The smell of burning wood and something much, much worse made his new, tiny body sick. In this strange new world, he knew he couldn't be Liang Shao, the 20-something graduate student. He had to be a scared 6-year-old orphan. So when Lena asked him his name, he picked one that really reflected his deepest wish, Cozy. His first rule was simple: hide the adult mind inside at all costs. Just survive. Pretty soon, the army commander, a guy named Ostega, presented him with a choice that would define his entire future. Now, for a 6-year-old kid, it would have been an impossible decision. But Cozy, well, he wasn't really a 6-year-old, was he? He was facing this impossible choice. Okay, so path 1, the state shelter. It promised safety, food, a roof over his head, but it came at a price, a lifetime of debt, and basically servitude. Then there was path 2, a small village. This meant freedom, sure, but also total uncertainty, a daily fight just to survive. To an adult mind, the so-called safety of the shelter sounded an awful lot like a cage. He chose freedom. The commander was pretty surprised, but, he respected the kid's decision. And just like that, he was sent off with the cold medic Lena on a 2-day trip to a village called Novus. On the road, he got his first real taste of just how dangerous his world was, a violent goblin ambush. Lena, with this brutal efficiency, just cut them down with her sword and some simple magic. It was terrifying and kinda awe-inspiring for the boy who was, until very recently, just a student. When he arrived in Novus, this quiet little village tucked away in a green valley, Cozy knew that his survival completely depended on having a methodical plan. He wasn't just some kid looking for charity. He was an adult, building a brand new life from absolute scratch. His plan was very methodical. First up, shelter. He found an abandoned carpenter's house. Second, work. He started earning 3 copper coins a day from the blacksmith, Erwin. Third, and this was the most crucial, knowledge. He sought that from the stern herbalist, Madison. And finally, power, a discovery he just kind of stumbled upon by accident. Madison was not an easy person to impress. She just saw him as another troublesome kid. But Cozy, using his adult understanding of how to appeal to people, promised he'd be a diligent student. Skeptical, she gave him a challenge: 2 books, one on this world's language, the other an intro to herbal medicine. If he could pass her test, she'd take him on as an apprentice. He had 1 shot, no help. So you might be asking, how could a 6-year-old possibly learn all that? Well, while he was struggling to memorize all these strange new words, Cozy found his secret weapon. He called it divine consciousness. He could basically create this mental space around himself, observing everything from a 360-degree perspective. And even more importantly, when he focused on a book, he could absorb its contents with perfect photographic recall. That night, the villagers threw a welcome party for him in the local tavern. They were loud, they were rough, and they were incredibly kind. Surrounded by all their singing and laughter, Cozy, for the very first time, felt a real sense of community. Yeah, he was an orphan in a dangerous world, but he wasn't totally alone. And now, he had an ace up his sleeve. Cozy knew that to really survive, he needed more than just a job and a roof. He had to understand the wild. So he went to Asha, the village's quiet and seriously formidable hunter, who agreed to take him into the forest. This was a whole different kind of test. In the freezing, pre-dawn cold, Asha taught him the basics of hunting: how to track, how to read the wind, and most importantly, how to be silent. The forest was not the peaceful scenery he saw from the village. It was a place of predators and prey, where one wrong move could be your very last. And then they found the signs. Fresh bear tracks pressed deep into the damp earth. A few strands of brown fur caught on some tree bark. As they followed the trail, a low, guttural growl echoed from the dense trees up ahead. A huge brown bear, just out of hibernation and furious, was very, very close. The attack was just an explosion of pure primal rage. The bear charged, a whirlwind of claws and teeth. And while Cozy just froze, completely paralyzed by a kind of pure animalistic fear he'd never known before, Asha moved. With this impossible calm and deadly precision, she dodged, drew her bow, and expertly dispatched the beast. For Cozy, it was a brutal, terrifying spectacle of skill and raw survival.
Shaking, unable to even speak, Cozy was confronted with the raw reality of death in this new world. This was not a game. This wasn't something from a book. Asha, seeing his terror, didn't scold him. She simply told him that fear is natural and courage is something you have to learn through experience. That was Cozy's real rite of passage.
So, having faced death, secured a home, and found work, Cozy's life was finally stabilizing. He was surviving. But the arrival of Kraut, the village merchant, brought with him an opportunity not just to survive, but to actually thrive. Kraut came back from the city with a new kind of drink, a cloudy, bubbly beer. To the villagers, this beer was just a novelty, a tasty but really unstable drink that spoiled fast. But when Cozy took a sip, he didn't just taste malt and yeast. As a 21st century graduate student, he tasted an incomplete formula. He tasted an opportunity that no one else in this entire world could possibly see. He knew the secret ingredient that was missing from their beer: hops. See, in his old world, hops were essential, the absolute cornerstone of the entire brewing industry, used for preservation and flavor. But here, they were just a common weed, something people used to make yellow dye. Nobody knew their true value, but he did. In that moment, holding a simple cup of pretty mediocre beer, Cozy stopped thinking about just surviving. For the very first time, he saw a path forward. He saw how his modern knowledge could reshape not just his own fate, but this entire world. This was the first spark of the genius he was reborn to be. If this story moved you or made you think differently, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And make sure to follow the channel for more stories just like this one.